About time you arrived.
Yes, hello?
Oh, that's an excellent likeness, Hazel. Oh, you have a very distinctive style.
Yes, people have often said that about the work, Miss Marple.
And what, if I may ask, have been your favourite subjects?
Well, I like portraiture, but my real love is, well, has always been nature. Mm. I like to think that you can see God in nature.
Hi, Hess. Got your message. Why didn't you just come round to the surgery?
I want an explanation, Jonathan. You're the one who's been stealing from the house, aren't you? The snuff boxes, the carriage clock, jewellery.
They're not jewellery.
Why did you do it?
Because that was my parents' stuff. Pritchard took advantage of my father when he was in a fix. He drove down the price on Summerlee. He died with nothing to his name.
But it's not yours anymore, Jonathan.
I want to get money to marry you, Hess.
What?
Well, that's why I put up with that insufferable woman for so long. She was my most lucrative patient, Hess.
I don't want money. I want you. Don't you know that? Or you must take all that stuff back. Or that detective will be on to you.
I thought that place was abandoned.
It is.
So why is there a light on?
He found you through one of your paintings, didn't he, Hazel?
Who?
Your husband, Eddie Seward. I imagine he'd looked for you for 2 years, knowing he'd driven you away, maybe to suicide, sinking deeper into his tunnel of alcohol and guilt. And then, quite by chance, he recognized one of your paintings at Fetty Place, the art dealers in London, lot 172. And even though you changed your name, he recognized it was your hand.
Zarida.
There's no one here.
Jonathan, call the police, Hazel. If your husband found you here, it's only a matter of time before they do. They'll understand, Penelope.
Who was it?
The former nurse, Susan Carstairs.
Pritchard's mistress.
And 6 months pregnant, with George Pritchard's tie tight around her neck. She'd been installed in the mill house by George after he made her leave Summerlee. Detective Somerset found evidence that she had dressed up as Zarida. He found Mary's missing jewellery on her fingers, and he also found George's fingerprints all over the place. Suddenly he had 3 suspicious deaths and 1 missing persons inquiry on his hands, all somehow tangled around George Pritchard. But how and why?
I want you to keep everything you've seen to yourself. Can I rely on you both?
Detective Somerset decided not to release news of Susan Carstairs' death, but to have George watched while he interviewed Hazel, who had just rung the police station and admitted she was Penelope Seward. News that was already round the village.
Philippa. What? I suppose you've heard about Hazel.
Oh, yes. Caroline and I were just talking about it.
Caroline?
Hello.
Hello, Miss Marple. Oh, we think she must have had some kind of thing over my sister.
Oh, Mrs. Pritchard recognised her as Penelope Sue.
She recognised her, yes. We think she must have killed my sister somehow.
I don't think so. I don't think Hazel's a murderer.
Then who's been doing this, Miss Marple? Who else could have killed these people?
God teaches us that life is valuable. It's not to be wasted. God, when he judges Mary's life, I fear will judge it to be wasted. God asks us to live our lives in service to him and not dabbling in fancies and superstitions. I'm sorry to say this, Mr. Pritchard, but God teaches us to live our lives so that we can try to be good to one another.
Reverend Marwater.
Philippa, sit down. Human beings should not be mean and poisonous.
I think she was murdered.
Philippa, we should leave.
No, George. She was murdered by that woman. I know she was.
Let's leave.
I saw her early yesterday morning coming back from Summerley.
Why would Hazel want to murder Mary?
Because you were having an affair with her, George. Did you think I wouldn't notice that? Did you think I wouldn't see? And she murdered her husband, too. Because the day he died, she was late at the golf club.
Sorry, I'm late.
Where had she been if she hadn't been killing him so she could be with you? Where had she been?
I did see my husband that morning. He asked me to accept him back.
Where did this take place?
Well, here. He just turned up and said he'd changed. And that he loved me. And that he'd always loved me. But I told him I would never go back to him. Never go back to him.
Are you in on it too, George? Because you're free to marry her now, aren't you? Is that always your plan, to let this wasp to come and live in this happy place and then let her stick?
Shut up, Philippa! Before you say something you'll really regret.
Did Pritchard follow your husband?
No.
How do you know? Were you with him the whole time?
I know because George told me he didn't, and I have faith in him.
Even though you didn't know he was having an affair with Susan Carstairs?
I have faith in him.
The pregnant Susan Carstairs, who was found strangled yesterday evening with one of George Pritchard's ties.
Don't you talk to her like that.
Is that the truth, Pritchard?
Why, what are you going to do? Write a book? Because if you do, it'll take you 20 years. What page are you on? Are you current magnum opus? Every talent that you've had, every break, you've wasted it or gambled it away. Oh, look, I see your friends are here.
Well, at least I had the good sense to marry the decent sister, George.
What did you say?
You heard me!
That's enough, look. You spent your entire life leeching off me. I've lent you money. I've supported you. And you've resented it all. All of it. I'm so sorry. Everyone, I'm so sorry.
I have to speak to the police.
You're in no state to speak to anyone, Dermot.
It's just something that I hate. But Philippa, she's got it all wrong.
What?
The morning Mary was found dead, Hazel was not on her way back from Summerley. She was coming to see me. Hazel is a devout woman. She takes the vows of marriage very seriously. She was conflicted about her marriage and George's, though that morning she was very distressed, having heard of George's affair with Nurse Carstairs. Well, she didn't know whether she could trust him anymore. She loved him so much, and he had saved her. Oh, so much sin, Jane. And in such a small place as this.
Where are you going?
Found you.
Are you lying again? Before the police arrive, I need to hear the truth from you, George.